Hi, everyone. Is this working? Yeah. I'd like to welcome to the stage Bradley. Hi. So let me explain how this is going to work. We've got... Look at the height difference in the mics here. We've got 10 minutes. I've got plenty of questions, but I'd much rather ask yours. So you can submit questions via slido.com. And then if you put in this number, #512684, they're going to come up for me here and I'll read them out. So to start with, first of all, thank you so much for sharing your film with us, and congratulations.
Thank you so much for showing it. It's amazing. Lovely way to start its life.
So I'm curious about how the film came about in terms of the footage. What's the kind of relationship between yourself and the footage? I get that it was shot by multiple people. And then kind of what was your role in that?
I mean, that's part. It just struck me, actually. It's actually not that weird standing on a stage wearing a mask in a way that 2 years ago it might have been. But that's part of the reason for this, is basically I have been, going to the camps. I'm involved in the protests, but I'm also a film director. We had a film here last year. It's nice to see an audience for a film this year. It's lovely. But there's basically the way that the campaign works. It just sort of, the concept of a director almost just seems sort of an inappropriate thing because of the power relations that are inherent in the word. There's you're kind of, there's like, the primacy of the director in the filmmaking process, and B, like just the power you have as a director to shape other people's narratives. But then also with this film, the idea, I got involved in the protest basically because of watching live streams on Facebook at the beginning of a lockdown when I was at home going, what the fuck am I going to do now? And then I started going to the protest. But, when you're using that many other people's footage, and I happened to go on that day, I haven't really been involved in that camp at all, which is another reason I don't really feel like, me and my co-director, we don't really feel like taking ownership of it in that way, in the conventional directorial way. But basically live streaming is really, really interesting and a really fascinating thing, but it's also already filmmaking. So you're taking filmmaking and making more filmmaking out of it, So had I not gone and had I not shot a load of stuff on the day, I probably wouldn't have made it. But there's also a trust issue there because, if people are giving you their footage, because obviously there was a lot of mobile phone footage as well, and there's always issues around that because, footage is evidence.
Yep.
And so to be trusted with the footage, you then have a responsibility to it. And it's just also just the groups is like, and you can kind of trace this back all the way to New Age travelers and probably even before. But, basically, it is a non-hierarchical structure. So on one level, the protests are an opposition to HS2, but on another, it's a modelling a different way of living.
Yeah.
And so it just sort of, if the camera wasn't on, I wouldn't wear this. I wouldn't bother. We could just talk. But seeing it's going to be publicly available, I just want I want it to be owned by the people who did that, rather than the person who kind of took all the footage and put it together. So.
No, that's great. And I think there's something that I really liked about you positioning the audience of the film as though we were watching it live stream. So we're seeing the kind of, the like and whatever reactions and the kind of feedback as though we were watching it through Instagram or Facebook or whatever. So we kind of, like you really kind of, collectively the filmmakers involved, really kind of brought us there. But I mean, there is a power also in the editing. I mean, I guess, could you just kind of expand on what you said in terms of how you approach the editing? Because, you know, I get that, you know, it's kind of citizen journalism when it comes to like the footage that you put together, but there is a real power in how you assemble that, what you leave in, what you leave out.
Yeah. I mean, you know, there was an incredible amount of footage that day, which really helped. There were 2 other professional film people there, and then there was all the live stream footage, and then loads of people who were just filming stuff on their phones, mainly to kind of, you know, just kind of have evidence of what happened in case it was needed. And getting all of that together, then so much happened that day. Like the bit in the tree, I could have done an hour-long film just of Red in the tree, you know, and it was so funny. And some of the conversations with the police and the bailiffs and whatever while she was in the tree were just, I mean, it was so difficult to cut, you know. But then I just wanted to basically kind of create as much of a sense of the narrative, you know, and put basically the tree in the middle of it, you know. So kind of there's lots of stuff happened around, and there was like at some point there was like word came that they were cutting down a load of other stuff, and that the tree was actually like a deflection so they could cut down other things at other places. And then there was a whole thing about someone found a tiny snail, and they thought maybe this was a really rare snail that would then save the wood, because if that wood was there, they wouldn't be able to do any work and stuff. So it was just a mad day.
There's a whole other film isn't there?
Yeah, but basically it was also just a really magical day, you know. And so you've got, on the one side, you've got this violence, and you've got this sort of collaboration between the state and a private corporation, which is state funded, and who have their own private army, effectively, you know. But on the other side, it's just a beautiful show of solidarity and people like having a really great time, you know. So I just wanted to get all of that into one thing, you know, and have it kind of community. You know, I mean, it's great. It's amazing. I would highly recommend getting involved.
So we've got a couple of really good questions here from the audience. So the first one is, and I'm going to guess this is from a Sheffielder. What do you think the chances are of HS2 being cancelled? I'm very much aware that it's due to come through Sheffield.
I mean, I can't really answer that question in a 10-minute Q&A. I mean, that is the process is like a sort of, I kind of think of it as like a pyramid, because at the very bottom of the pyramid, you've got getting HS2 to stick to what they've said that they'll do, and what's in their hybrid bill that allows them to basically do all sorts of things that no other company in Britain can do. So effectively just policing HS2. And that's the bit that is working really, really well. And then there's another level, which is getting them to change things. And so this protest has saved a bit of woodland, because it was originally going to go for a golf course, and then they changed it because the golf courses are more important than woods. But the protest was so demanding that they've changed it and they've gone through the golf course. So that's a little change. Obviously, the next level up is cancelling HS2 altogether, you know, and the amount of work and the amount of extra effort that's gone to this, it's, you know, months, if not years behind schedule from the work that people have been doing. Attritionally, slowly, maybe will help to get it cancelled before it comes up here and takes all the woodlands around here as well. You know, I mean, there's so many vested interests. I can't see it without more than that. But, you know, that's my opinion. And like, you know, I think it will take, you know, but, you know, there's definitely, you know, public opinion and the protests combined are definitely for, you know, are definitely kind of things that will help to get it stopped. But you can't say, I can't stand there and say that it will be cancelled, you know, because, but this side is actually on pause at the moment, you know, and they might, who knows? Sorry, I'm.
No, it's all right. We've got another question from a fellow Bradley. How did you work around putting people's faces into the film in a really security conscious environment? How did that work?
Yeah, that's a really challenging issue. So the first thing is you have to get permission from all the people who shot the footage. then you have to find all the people in the footage who could be implicated in a thing and get a hold of them and ask if they are happy. What helped is all the charges being dropped, you know, and also just the fact that nobody on the day did anything criminal, you know, no one did anything criminal on the day. So there's not much, and that's the thing, you know, 4 people get arrested, spend 3 nights in jail, and that sheer level of police presence that was required to cut down that run tree. But there was no crime committed at any point. So why were the police even involved? You know, and so that's, you know, so that kind of answers the question, but also, you know, it's just you have to be very, very rigorous about it, you know. And then, of course, there's naked people in it. You know, they're the most important people to talk to and make sure they're okay, you know. And there could have been blurring out, and there can be things that you leave out because you don't want to see something. But in this instance, there was nothing that was problematic in that way.
I've just got one more question, and I know that music is important in your films, and I know it says at the end that you've taken music that has just been played, you know, in the camp on the day. But tell us a bit more about your kind of approach to putting together that banging soundtrack.
It's just an amazing soundtrack, isn't it? And it was so nice as well getting kind of, you know, getting hold of all the artists, because normally you just go through this process of contacting the record label, go through the clearance for the publishing, you go through the clearance for the sync rights, etc., etc. But with this, I just went direct to all the artists and said, look, this is a non-profit film. Yeah. It's for a good cause. You know, a lot of the music, there's Pussy Riot in there. There's various bands, but a lot that aren't really connected, you know, with any sort of protest stuff. But everyone was really willing. But it was just a pleasure, you know. And there was music played all day, so the selection there was a lot of options, you know. It's just, you know, finding. There was some where someone was actually singing something in that moment, so you had to use that. There's a whole section I couldn't use because I couldn't get Rage Against the Machine to clear a song, but I'm actually quite pleased now. My co-director never wanted it in, so he won, but only because they didn't let us, but that's fine. It's for the better. It's too obvious. Yeah. No, the soundtrack's great as it is. Cool. Thank you so much for sharing the film with us. And I know that we have more Bradleys that were involved in the film in the audience, so maybe we could make this round of applause for all of them. Thanks. Yeah. And sorry, I did a terrible job there. I'm sure HS2 will be cancelled. Yeah. That's a much better note to leave on. Thank you. Okay, we're going to move on to the next film, which is the world premiere of Portrait of Kay by Ben Reed. Can I just have a wave from Ben Reed so that we know that Ben Reed is here? Amazing. Thank you. Just checking. Okay, so now that we know that Ben is here, I can say with confidence that I will be back with Ben for a brief Q&A after the film. So again, this is the world premiere of Portrait of Kay as part of our UK competition. And something I should have said at the beginning is if you could please keep your masks on for as much of the film, for as many of you and as much of the film as you're able to, and I will be too. Okay, thank you so much. Enjoy the film and we'll be back.